When I was 8 years old, my father didn't just leave, he deleted himself from our lives. It wasn't a dramatic movie scene. There were no screaming matches in the rain, no packed suitcases waiting by the door. It was a Tuesday. The kitchen smelled like burnt toast and cheap instant coffee. He was yelling at my mother because the butter was too hard to spread, a trivial, stupid complaint.
I remember looking at his back, watching the way his shoulder blades moved under his shirt, not knowing it was the last time I'd see them for a decade.
By 6 p.m., the silence in the house was heavy enough to crush a lung. His closet was empty. The emergency cash jar in the pantry was empty. Even the toaster was gone.
He had run off with a woman 10 years younger, taking the little stability we had and leaving us with a mortgage we couldn't afford.
My mother, a woman who used to sing while she folded laundry, stopped singing. She worked 2 jobs, then 3.
I watched her turn into a ghost in her own home, skipping dinner so there would be enough for me, taping her work shoes with duct tape so I could have new sneakers for gym class.
She never badmouthed him. She just waited. Every night, at the sound of a car door slamming outside, her head would snap toward the window. Spoiler alert, it was never him. Growing up, I learned quickly that the cavalry isn't coming. Superman isn't real. And sometimes the people who share your blood are the ones most likely to let you bleed out. I channeled my anger into something sharper than hate, logic. Numbers. Code.
While other kids played outside, I was under the flickering street lamp outside our apartment, because our power was cut again, solving calculus problems on the back of used envelopes.
I sold snacks between classes. I fixed neighbors' computers. I became obsessed with systems, with input and output. I realized that if you control the input, you control the result. My father was a chaotic variable. I intended to be a constant. The validation came when I was 18. A thick envelope from a prestigious tech university in London. A full scholarship. It felt like holding a golden ticket out of hell. I sat at the kitchen table, the letter shaking in my hands, planning how I would tell my mom. Then, the front door opened. 15 years. That's how long it had been. But there he was. He looked older, the skin around his eyes sagging, his cheap suit frayed at the cuffs. He didn't look at the peeling paint or the worn furniture. He looked at me. There was no hug.
No, I missed you. No, I'm sorry. He just sat down, looked at the acceptance letter in my hand, and smiled. A greasy, terrifying smile.
I heard you're smart, he said, his voice rasping like sandpaper. Smart kids make money. I'm in a bit of a bind, sweetheart. Your old man needs a loan. My body went cold. He wasn't back for me.
He was back because he had burned through the other woman, burned through the money, and heard through the grapevine that his abandoned daughter was going places. I'm leaving tomorrow, I said, my voice shaking.
I have a scholarship. I don't have money for you. His smile vanished. The mask fell. He snatched the letter from my hand. He scanned it, his eyes narrowing. London? You think you're going to London? He laughed, a cruel, barking sound. Girls don't need dreams, kid. They need husbands. They need to take care of their families. And then, with a casualness that broke my heart, he ripped the letter. Then he ripped it again. And again. He let the confetti of my future drift onto the dirty linoleum floor. You aren't going anywhere, he spat. I'm your father. And until I say so, you stay here and work. You owe me. My mother screamed, a primal sound I'd never heard before. She lunged at him, pushing him out the door, screaming for him to leave and never come back. He laughed as he walked away, yelling that he'd be back for his share. I stood there, staring at the shredded paper. I felt like all the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. But then, the system inside my brain rebooted. Input, sabotage. Output, recalculation. He tore the paper. He didn't tear my brain. I spent the next 6 hours taping the letter back together. I scanned it. I emailed the university admissions office, explaining the situation with a calmness that terrified me. I sent them the police report my mother finally filed.
The community. The neighbors who watched me do homework under streetlights. The teachers who saw me selling snacks. They rallied.
They collected money for my plane ticket. My mother sold her wedding ring, the last thing she owned, and pressed the cash into my hand. Go, she whispered. Don't look back. I boarded that plane with a tear-stained face and a heart made of stone. 5 years later, I returned. I wasn't the poor kid from the block anymore. I was the youngest lead AI researcher at a global firm. I had built algorithms that predicted market crashes and optimized medical diagnoses. I had money, real money. I bought my mother a house with a garden, far away from the old neighborhood. I bought her a car that didn't need duct tape. I was untouchable. Or so I thought.
One afternoon, while I was visiting my old neighborhood to fund a coding camp for underprivileged girls, a woman stopped me.
Your dad, she whispered. He's bad off. Sleeping behind the grocery store. The woman he left you for? She drained him dry, took out loans in his name, and kicked him to the curb. Karma, baby. I didn't rush to him. I didn't feel a surge of pity. I just thought, data received. Weeks later, my doorbell rang. It was raining. He was there. He looked like a skeleton wrapped in wet rags. He was shaking, his eyes yellowed, his lips cracked. He looked at me, in my tailored suit, in my warm home, and he crumbled. Please, he whispered, his voice barely audible over the rain. Help me. I have nowhere to go. I'm dying. I looked at the man who destroyed my childhood. The man who ripped up my ticket to freedom. I looked at him, and I realized he wasn't a monster anymore. He was just a bug in the code. A glitch. Come in, I said. I fed him. I let him shower. I gave him clean clothes. He sat at my table, weeping into a bowl of soup. I'm so sorry, he blubbered. I was stupid. I was selfish. You're a good daughter. Better than I deserved. Can you forgive me? Can we start over? Quote, this is where the movie would end with a hug. This is where I would say, I forgive you, Dad, and we would heal. But I am a creature of logic. And I knew something he didn't. I helped you, I told him quietly, not because you are my father, but because I needed to clear the cache. I slid a piece of paper across the table. What's this? He asked, wiping his eyes. It's a contract, I said. I have paid for a room for you. A very nice room. In a state-of-the-art assisted living facility 3 hours from here. All your meals are paid for. Your medical bills are covered. You will never be hungry or cold again. He began to cry harder, reaching for my hand. Thank you. Oh God, thank you. You're an angel. When do we leave? Quote, you leave in an hour, I said, pulling my hand away. The car is coming. But there is a condition. I pointed to the bottom of the paper. This facility. I own a stake in it. It's fully automated. The staff turnover is high. You will be comfortable, Dad. But you will be anonymous. I have set up the account so that my name is never attached to yours. You are not allowed to tell anyone you are my father. You are not allowed to call me. You are not allowed to write to me. If you try to contact me or Mom, the funding stops immediately, and you are back on the street. He froze. The tears stopped. But I want to be a family again. I want to make it up to you. You can't, I said, my voice devoid of emotion. You taught me that people are investments. You were a bad investment.
I am simply liquidating a failed asset to prevent future liability. This isn't forgiveness, he whispered, looking at the luxury of my home, realizing he would never be part of it.
This is prison. No, I smiled, and it was the first time I truly felt free. It's severance. You left us with nothing to survive. I'm giving you everything to survive, but nothing to live for. That's the difference between us, Dad. You acted out of malice. I'm acting out of efficiency. The car arrived. He signed the paper because he had no choice. I watched him get into the black sedan. He looked back at me one last time, waiting for a wave, a tear, anything. I just closed the door. The best revenge isn't hurting them back. It isn't letting them die in the street.
It's becoming so powerful that you can save their life with a snap of your fingers, while simultaneously erasing them from your existence. He lives in comfort now, safe and warm, spending every single day thinking about the daughter who became a queen without him, and knowing he will never, ever be allowed inside the castle.
If you think I did the right thing by giving him a golden cage instead of forgiveness, hit the like button. And if you've ever had to cut off a toxic parent to save yourself, comment server reset below. Subscribe for more stories about the algorithms of life and revenge.